Well, that was kind of a bad burp. Pardon me. You kind of getting how this thing rolls here. I improvise the entire stinking thing. It's only fitting to do it this way. Obviously, I know whose line is it anyway, because this is a one-man band, one-man show. And it's an incredibly poor one, just as as it should be for the poorest superhero out there. Poorest, worst, and laziest are definitely some of the titles that I will gladly claim, and have claimed probably many times at this point. And if this gets repetitive, well, the archetype itself really is repetitive. The only things that kind of change are the ideas, and a lot of the ideas stay the same at the same time. It's one of those things that rewording old ideas is an incredibly important thing. And the reason why that is because that many ideas are basically the same thing. They really are. I don't need to get into specifics, because a lot of people can see this every day. A lot of comedians actually make a living by simply doing this. Like, I'll hold up two of my favorite heroes, which would be the Foxworthy and the Angball, because a lot of the things that go on are very synonymous with each other. I mean, the situations are different, but the outcomes are so parallel. I mean, it's just the comedy involved that you can see their bands, their flocks of sheep that they don't even herd. They just watch. They just watch and go, did that really just happen? Here's your sign. Oh, good job, redneck. And it's the entire thing with comedy in general, is that the ideas, a lot of the things that are out there it's the one band within humanity that gives us really the biggest common bond, is the ability to laugh. Because without comedy, we're basically very dour, very sour, and we lose a lot of power. And laughter has been said to be the best medicine, and it really, truly is, because it realigns the entire body into a very healthy format, whether just in the mind or in the body. It's one of the best stress reliefs that doesn't require other hands on you. And that's why this superhero has adopted the moniker that I have. Because it's the easiest when you're lonely. It's the easiest when you're lonely. And this is the best way of sharing it. And this is incredibly boring. This can be the most boring comedy skit that I've ever really heard, but at the same time, it makes me laugh because there's just a little snappy gold in it. A little snappy gold in it. Whether it's just the bad impersonation, whether it's just the different wordings that I don't hear. I don't hear a lot of other people, other comedians, and anyone else for that matter. They just don't speak like I do, and it's very entertaining to me that I can make myself laugh really as hard as I do. And I don't know if that's the hallmark of a really good comedian, or if I'm really just that bored. It's really hard for me to tell, because it's kind of like comparing Joker the superhero might as well be Captain Jack Sparrow in a few ways, or Captain Jack Blackbird, or however you want to put it, the big Raven himself. And because you can see the archetype within them, that they're well, completely opposed to each other. I mean, Captain Sparrow versus the Joker would be one of the funniest things anybody could dream up. No joke. Because it's like pitting... I can't think of a really good one, except for... It would be like Deadpool going against the Joker. It is one of the best ways I could think of. And the Joker, for inspiration purposes, was so influential that they made a female version of him. And I'm not going to get into Harleen Quinzel at all. And the reason is because I know very, very little about her character, other than that she is just bat crap crazy and idolizes her star patient to the point she joined his side. That's really all I know at a base level. Anything beyond that, I just can't even get into. And the Joker was so inspiring that they made the Riddler. And for all intents and purposes, telling the difference between the Riddler and the Joker, and I'm going to use the not the original Adam West one, but the Jim Carrey one. Jim Carrey version of the Riddler is as inspiring and possibly more batcrap crazy than the Joker himself, at least in that version of him. And that one was literally iconic, in my opinion, because he was just so nuts that I think he might be the one supervillain that actually scares the Joker to an extent, or Kindred Souls with more wording. And the fact that they haven't resurrected the Riddler at all since Val Kilmer's days there is really a very telltale sign of how similar those couple of archetypes are. That yes, they work in different fashions, and the Joker's the chaos, and the Riddler's is the control side of basically the same coin, which amounts to another version of Two-Face, and in two separate bodies, in the same format that you see kind of Bane and Poison Ivy running around. You have these male-female archetypes and these similar ones. The one guy, I mean, just for more intents and purposes of my Joker being the richest banker, no, truly, that particular one really goes to the Penguin, of all people. Because this guy, you ever seen a supervillain banker? Man, it's between Lex Luthor and him. Even though Lex Luthor was, the mad scientist style. But the Penguin, on the other hand, was a very hard role to pull off, for one. That there's only been two guys that ever successfully pulled him off. And with Danny being by far the king at it. I mean, that one was just awe-inspiring. You couldn't find a better man to pull off that role, basically. And in the case of the ladies, those ones, it's nothing against the ladies, or maybe the lack of imagination on the parts of the creators, because they're male creators. So, and this is not misogyny. It's just, it's harder to pull off a female role from a male perspective, is my opinion. Hence why you get the likes of Poison Ivy, Catwoman, and the other queen. The other Joker queen, basically. And, they all have separate personalities and execute their ways in their own style. and they are iconic and have been for just longer than I've been alive. And they, I'm not losing my train of thought. I'm trying to get it in order. See, this is the problem with improv broadcasting, is that, especially when you're doing the role that I'm, doing really bad at, just doing really bad at, and it's not even frustrating. It's it kind of just shows how one or two minds can create so many different iconic characters that you could go back to some base archetypes. Well, in the case of what do they all have in common in the case of the women? Well, for the supervillains, it's usually either mayhem, money, or just tyranny. And obviously um for money, you got Catwoman. Okay, she's the wild card when it comes to, she's the gray one. She's not bad, but she's not good. Because she's willing to get more down and dirty than 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 any of the other good guys within the Batman universe, as far as I could tell, because she crosses the line on both sides and has, I mean, even in the Adam West days. Um, Whereas, Poison Ivy is just pure poison through and through. She is chaos, she is mayhem, she is tyranny, and in order to do that, you have to have the big guy in order to get the financing, in the case of Mr. Bane. And, well, for the Joker Queen, Harley Quinn, she is just um, mayhem and financing. I mean, and she might as well adopt another superhero moniker, being the sidekick of the Riddler, as far as I can tell. She is just whew. She almost takes the Joker to another level at times, from what I've seen. And the Joker is the clown prince. I mean, there is it's hard to hold a candlestick to that guy, definitely. And in the case of the males, it's well, the archetypes really do boil down a lot better, because and and probably the most underrated kind of, you have the Joker, who basically just scares the crap out of everybody on all sides of the fence, even though he's just a regular guy who has a really big screw loose. The Riddler is all about tyranny. Riddler is completely about tyranny. The Two-Face, yeah, he is tyranny and mayhem. I mean, whereas Joker is just pure mayhem, literally pure mayhem. He doesn't. He runs the psychology experiments, but he doesn't care about the results usually, because he's usually winning, even if he gets thrown in Arkham. And but the one biggest underdog is Big Musclehead himself. Big Musclehead himself, Bane. That is the most underrated supervillain I have ever seen. And it's not mostly just because of maybe bad portrayals in movies, which they actually did very partially right in the last of the probably one of the greatest Batman trilogies ever. Is they actually showed his intelligent side, and they didn't show the science experiment side of him, though. That was the interesting take that they took out of it. They wanted to make him more real, so they gave him the weakness of his lungs, which I don't know if that was legitimate or not, and it really don't matter if it was to me. But so here was a ramble on the villain archetypes and And just, another really good ramble from your buddy, the Joker, too. I mean, I don't want to use the long moniker because that's just a joke. That is just a joke unto itself. 50K 3R2 over and out.